The ongoing war for Afghanistan's future. It continues to devastate the lives of its civilian population. In the first 6 months of 2010, attacks against Afghan civilians have occurred with more frequency and intensity. That reality has been documented in a new report by the UN's top civilian casualty watchdog. Data released on Tuesday by the UN's Assistance Mission Afghanistan paints a picture that is as dramatic as it is controversial.
Afghan civilian casualties have increased by 31% over the same period last year, 2009. 31% more than last year. Afghan civilian casualties.
The fact that Afghan insurgents are responsible for the majority of the 3,268 casualties of their fellow countrymen may not necessarily impact the debate over this war, but what might are the statistics showing a stark decline in civilian deaths caused by ISAF and NATO.
Airstrikes were and still are the highest cause of the pro-government forces casualties caused.
Both U.S.-led forces and the Taliban have made public pledges to reduce civilian deaths, the U.S. by publishing guidelines to limit airstrikes, the Taliban by issuing their own code of conduct. 2010 has been the deadliest for U.S. and coalition forces inside this country since the war began 9 years ago. At least 422 foreign troops have been killed by insurgent attacks this year. But if you put that up against UN figures, which attribute 2,477 civilian casualties to the Taliban and anti-government forces, that means the Taliban have killed or injured about 5 civilians for every 1 coalition soldier death.
It's been just a couple of hours since the United Nations issued their report, and we've just arrived at a scene of yet another suicide attack, this time in a residential neighborhood here in Kabul. It only underscores the general findings of the United Nations, that regardless of who is fighting and trying to control this country, whether it's NATO, ISAF, the United States, or the Taliban, none of the parties here are bringing the population here the security they deserve. Clayton Swisher, Al Jazeera, Kabul.